On Feminism by Richard M. Weaver. This is excerpted from Ideas Have Consequences, published in 1948. I put forward here an instance which not only is typical of contempt for natural order, but which also is of transcendent importance. This is the foolish and destructive notion of the equality of the sexes. What but a profound blacking out of our conception of nature and purpose could have borne this fantasy? Here is a distinction of so basic a character that one might suppose the most frenetic modern would regard it as part of the donné to be respected. What God hath made distinct, let not man confuse. But no, profound differences of this kind seem only a challenge to the busy renovators of nature. The rage for equality has so blinded the last 100 years that every effort has been made to obliterate the divergence in role, in conduct, and in dress. It has been assumed, clearly out of the same impiety, that because the mission of woman is biological in a broader way, it is less to be admired. Therefore, the attempt has been made to masculinize women. Has anyone heard arguments that the male should strive to imitate the female in anything? A social subversion of the most spectacular kind has resulted. Today, in addition to lost generations, we have a self-pitying, lost sex. There is a social history to this. At the source of the disorder there lies, I must repeat, an impiety toward nature. But we have seen how, when a perverse decision has been made, material factors begin to exert a disproportionate effect. Woman has increasingly gone into the world as an economic equal and therefore competitor of man. Once again, equality destroys fraternity. But a superficial explanation through economic changes is to be avoided. The economic cause is a cause that has a cause. The ultimate reason lies in the world picture, for once woman has been degraded in that picture, and putting her on a level with the male is more truly a degradation than an elevation, she is more at the mercy of economic circumstances. If we say that woman is identical with man, except in that small matter of division of labor and the procreation of the species, which the most rabid egalitarian is driven to accept, there is no reason why she should not do man's work. And, by extension, there is no reason why she should not be bombed along with him. Footnote. The indulgence by women in anesthetics like alcohol and tobacco is a symptom of major significance, because, in tendency, these are her enemies. Woman, as the life-giver, is bound to oppose anything that deadens or that shortens life. Her role is historically creative and not destructive. The popular feeling that drinking and smoking are more to be reprehended in women than in men rests on understandable ground, unless, of course, woman is to abandon her creative role and identify herself with the, by comparison, infertile male. The male is expendable, the female is not. End of footnote. So, hordes of women have gone into industry and business, where the vast majority of them labor without heart and without incentive. Conscious of their displacement, they see no ideal in the task. And, in fact, they are not treated as equals. They have been made the victims of a transparent deception. Taken from a natural sphere in which they are superior, they are set to wandering between two worlds. Women can neither have the prestige of the former, nor, for the fact of stubborn nature, find a real standing in the latter. So we begin to see them, these homunculi of modern industrial society, swarming at evening from factories and insurance offices, going home, like the typist in the wasteland, to lay out their food in tins. At length, amid the marvelous confusion of values attendant upon the Second World War, came the lady marine and the female armaments worker. It is as if the centripetal power of society had ceased. What is needed at center now drifts towards the outer edge. A social seduction of the female sex has occurred on a vast scale, and the men responsible for this seduction have been the white slavers of business who traffic in the low wages of these creatures. The executives, the specialists in reduction of labor costs, the very economists and calculators whose emergence Burke predicted for us. The anomalous phase of the situation is that the women themselves have not been more concerned to retrieve the mistake. Women would seem to be the natural ally in any campaign to reverse this trend. In fact, it is alarming to think that her powerfully anchored defenses have not better withstood the tide of demoralization. With her superior closeness to nature, her intuitive realism, her unfailing ability to detect the sophistry in mere intellectuality, how was she ever cozened into the mistake of going modern? Perhaps it was the decay of chivalry in men that proved too much. After the gentleman went, the lady had to go too. No longer protected, the woman now has her career, in which she makes a drab pilgrimage from two-room apartment to job to divorce court. Women of the world's ancient regime were practitioners of realpolitik in this respect. They knew where the power lies. One wonders what Queen Elizabeth would have said had feminist agitators appeared during her reign over England's green and pleasant isle. They knew it lies in loyalty to what they are, and not in imitativeness, exhibitionism, and cheap bids for attention. Well was it said that he who leaves his proper sphere shows that he is ignorant both of that which he quits and that which he enters. Women have been misled by the philosophy of activism into forgetting that for them, as custodians of the values, it is better to be than to do. Maternity, after all, as Walt Whitman noted, is an emblematical attribute. If our society were minded to move resolutely toward an ideal, its women would find little appeal, I am sure, in lives of machine tending and money handling. And this is so just because woman will regain her superiority when again she finds privacy in the home and becomes, as it were, a priestess radiating the power of proper sentiment. Her life, at its best, is a ceremony. When William Butler Yeats, in A Prayer for My Daughter, says, "Let her think opinions are accursed," he indicts the modern, displaced female, the nervous, hysterical, frustrated, unhappy female, who has lost all queenliness and obtained nothing. What has this act of impiety brought us, except, in the mordant phrase of Henry James's The Bostonians, an era of long-haired men and short-haired women?